Discussions on everything from the court
Like
to the field,
like
mixed with the business and culture that orbit the sports world. Whether it's the latest blockbuster trade or the societal impact of sports. Two Man On with your hosts, Van Nunley and Fred Slum, with producer Isaiah Johnson on 95.9 FM and AM 610.
This thing is not working well, Steve.
Test.
Mike's hot.
It's Wednesday, Albuquerque. You know what that means? Well, that means the boys are at the Albuquerque Duke store. Let's go. Special shorty boy today. We're excited to have that shorty boy. Van Nunley's not here. Will be joining us in process. We got a little bit of a fun technical start to the program, so we're going to work through it with you, but we're going to enjoy working through it with you. That's what we do on this thing. We figure it out. We got a very fun and special guest today. We'll talk about that at length. But first, Steve, how are you, brother?
What's going on, Fred?
You know, I'm excited. Is
Welcome back.
that how you feel?
What? That you're excited?
You bumped me yesterday.
I bumped you? Yes, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's just my feelings. Like when you,
Well, I think you guys survived over there, didn't you?
and the host of Leaders of Enchantment, Doug Campbell. Let's go, Doug. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Good. Thank you for working through these technical difficulties with us. We got a little metronome on our end, but I feel like the audience at home will be perfectly fine. Isaiah back at the studio. Isaiah, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Just trying to monitor these technical difficulties.
Isn't that funny?
You know what it sounds like when my dog gets the hiccups.
So we'll go one ear only as we move forward on this one. Got a fun day of sports in front of us. We're going to recap a lot of what is going on, preview a lot. The thing that we will do to start the program, though, is the thing I've done every year, what feels like for the last 20 years I've been professional sports talk, is it's 9/11, boys. It's a day of remembrance. It's a somber day, you know, and I think as time has set in since the tragedy that was September 11th, 2001, just how retrospect is kind of fallen a little bit, and how people don't necessarily put it to the forefront the way they did early, and that's an interesting vibe to me. Doug, Steve, give me your remembrance of 9/11. Give me where you were, who you were with, and kind of talk to me through the emotion that you had associated with that day.
Yeah, I remember it very well. I was right here in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
My young wife was heavily pregnant at the time. I was a grad student at University of New Mexico, and I woke up like I normally did, made my coffee, and I think I was listening to the radio or something, and this was just when the first plane had hit, so it was still unclear what was going on. And I turned on the TV. I got my wife up, and I said, "Honey, I think you might want to come and see what's going on."
Yeah.
And in real time, we're watching TV, and the second plane hits. And immediately I turned to my wife and I said, "That wasn't an accident."
Yeah. Well, and Steve, I know you're going to tell a story too, but it was, mine was, I'm a little bit younger than you. I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school, and I was driving. I was a junior and I was driving. And I was late to school because I was a junior and I was driving. Like, that's how that worked at the time. I was in the central time zone. So as I'm driving to school, there was this report over the college radio station, because I listened to college radio stations. This was going to be my life or whatever. And they couldn't quite articulate it. They couldn't, because they were also kids. They weren't able to explain it. And I get into the classroom, and it's taken over the day, and it's on all the TVs in the classroom. We were Channel 1, put all TVs in classrooms. And it was just as sad of a day as I remember experiencing as a kid. As it was the first time I feel like I saw like my educators and my leaders sad. And I hadn't seen that as a kid. And that was a really traumatizing one.
Yeah. Probably rattled. They were rattled.
Oh, incredibly.
Yeah.
Incredibly.
Well, I lived in Arlington, Virginia on 9/11.
Oh, so you were close.
I was 5 minutes from the Pentagon. And I was driving, so I worked in Herndon, Virginia, which was a suburb out there close to Dulles, Virginia. And same thing on the radio, driving out to work. Heard the story of the first plane. They thought it was a small plane.
And those were the reports, remember? It was everyone thought it was at first.
So my first thought was my nephew and my brother-in-law, who live in Phoenix, were on top of the World Trade Center the same time, same day, 1 week earlier. And so I called my sister, who was, was early there, but ended up getting into work. We watched the whole thing go down at work. We had a television set up. When the plane hit the Pentagon, that was a little interesting for me. All of us there.
Yeah.
So I was right there. I was there for, and for weeks after that, it was on the news. It was consumed everybody in that area, in America, but in that area specifically, you heard all the stories. You heard it was so compelling to me that I drove to New York City 3 weeks later. I had to see it.
Yeah.
I had to see that they were gone.
I went on the
10-year
anniversary to Ground Zero. I went, they had a memorial in place at that time, and there's like an infinity pool thing. It's incredibly nice if you haven't taken the chance. And the only other time I felt that exact same energy, and I have felt it, was at the Pearl Harbor Memorial. Like they have the exact same presence, energy. I don't know how else to describe that word, but just a wild time. And then, obviously we're sports talk radio, and then the conversation you transition to is how sports returned, because it was everything had shut down. Right. And as I recall it, the first event in sports I saw was a Friday night SmackDown, like days later. It was like pro wrestling was the first one to come back, and then Major League Baseball, and as you recall, the NFL and all these different things. Do you guys have a recollection of a reintroduction to sport after 9/11? Was there a significant memory for you guys?
I mean, for me, I was a graduate student. I had zero time, and then a month later, my first son was born.
Yeah.
So I had to take a little bit of a break,
Sure.
other than the version that's on TV.
Yeah. Well, I'm, as you know, a Yankees fan. So when the Yankees were making that right, we started watching the World Series, and then that became a thing, right? For New York City, the Yankees and the Diamondbacks, I believe, in that World Series.
Yeah, that is correct.
So, yeah.
Joining us on the program, Van Nunley. Van, welcome. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah. We're kind of reminiscing over 9/11, the history of it. Van Nunley now with us. Van, I know your story a little bit. You've told it a couple of times. We've done this episode the several years we've done it. Van, you were in the hospital.
Yeah, that is accurate. I was in the lobby of the doctor's office, and it was a pretty scary day for multiple reasons. For me, one being is I was finding out that my human that I had coming that day was going to be a girl. I found out the sex of my upcoming daughter the morning of September 11th. I was in the doctor's office as the second tower was falling. So my fear, my apprehension that I had for myself and everyone around me was compounded tenfold, knowing that I'm bringing up a daughter in this world. It was pretty heavy that morning.
And then help remind me. So it was the Pentagon was after the first two towers, right? That got attacked or that got hit after the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
How long after the second tower? Anybody remember?
Well, that's a great question.
Not long, an hour.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then
'cause I know the first two towers was within like 14 minutes, 15 minutes, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I could be way off with that, but I
It,
thought I
it wasn't
remembered.
long. Yeah.
Yeah, the first two towers was real close. So then the Pentagon came about an hour later. Okay.
I believe somewhere in that.
Yeah, and then
area.
and then Pennsylvania as well.
Correct.
Yeah. Just the most polarizing event in history. And there's a generation now that is so young. Your family included, Doug, where it's they don't have memory of. They don't. And I think historically you can learn it, and it's omnipresent in our existence forever. But I've never been able to successfully find a way to communicate the emotion of it. I've never been able to say it felt this way. And I think that's good that I don't have that capability. I think it's good that I can't give that, but it was a frozen moment in time.
Believe it or not, I remember when this happened, I was in kindergarten, and I remember school
Rub it
was
in.
shut down. School was shut down, or we got out early, and I remember teachers crying. And of course, I was 5 years old, so I had no idea, why teachers were crying. But I just remember all of our parents coming to pick us up early from school, and school was out, and I wasn't too sure why.
Oh, just a wild time, an absolutely wild time. And then, as we mentioned, it was the return to normality, which here we sit 23 years later, and we have a new normal. We all take off our shoes at the airport now. We have a new normal. Like there's 3.4 ounces of toothpaste. We have a new normal, which is a large segment of this country still polarized by it, and they take that polarization, they turn it into anger or aggression or ignorance or all these different things. And as we sit here today talking about a country that I feel has continually tried to heal over those many, many years, the world of sport and being a part of it. I don't necessarily remember, and maybe I'm wrong, you guys can smarten me up. I don't remember the prominence of the national anthem before 9/11. I remember Whitney Houston one time.
Sure.
But now, we Duke City Championship Wrestling or Lobo football or Lobo Athletics or the Isotopes. There has been a spotlight put on that, which I think is lovely before sports. I think it's important. But yeah, just a different day and age in the world of sports, a different day and age. So there we are. We're gonna let our remembrance sit. And when we come back, we're going to reset the program. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm really excited about Doug Campbell being here, Leaders of Enchantment. Really great podcast. I've been tuned in. Kind of the biggest names, the movers and shakers here in the city of Albuquerque. We'll talk to you about that and so much else. We're live from the Duke store. Come hang out. It just filled up with friends of the show. So it is galore. Doug, did you already pick out a shirt? Do you have a shirt in mind?
Not yet. I wasn't given those specific instructions.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be looking around.
Steve's move.
May I make a suggestion? The new Dukes and United crossover windbreaker.
Oh, that's cool.
That is sweet.
Well, maybe celebrating episode 4 of Leaders of Enchantment, the Peter Trevisani
Trevisani.
special.
Yeah.
Cool.
Steve rocking the goatee. Is that what I just saw on camera here? Steve with the mustache goatee.
You might have seen something in that.
Winter's coming, Zay.
Yes.
You got to protect that pretty face over there
Well,
on Steve.
So the live stream, facebook.com/talkabq, youtube.com/talkabq, all those outlets. What you didn't notice about Doug Campbell was he was wearing his own shirt. He's wearing a Campbell soup shirt for his childhood nickname Soupy because his name is Campbell. We'll get into that at length. It's 2 Men On, live from the Duke store, 95.9 FM and AM 610, the sports animal.
Clear and
Welcome back to the program. Welcome back to Two Men On. Steve Palmisano is going to turn his camera horizontal, and then we'll be able to do a little bit of radio. We're going to have a lot of fun today. The Duke store is packed. This is the place to be.
Yeah, it's
Is
rocking,
there a new
man.
colorway out, Steve? Is that what's up? Is there a new colorway?
I don't think so. I think it's just
They're here for these windbreakers.
The United mashup?
average Wednesday afternoon.
Doug Campbell is with us. He's the host of Leaders of Enchantment and other endeavors. When you've been fortunate, Doug, to do some things in your life, how do you identify? Like, are you now identifying as a podcast host? Is that your new move?
I'm still adapting.
Yeah.
So if you look at my my LinkedIn profile, you'll see investor, podcast host, and then the title I'm most proud of, which is professional recreationist.
Oh,
nice.
Okay.
Into that.
All
That could
right.
mean anything. I love it.
Yeah.
Put a check in
Yeah.
the jealousy
Yeah.
box
Yeah.
for me.
By the way, to the friends of the show, I send my most heartfelt apologies that I was late. I like to be punctual. I'm not on New Mexico time. All right. I was doing a service to my community. I was saving a puppy from being eaten by an immigrant.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, smart.
I'm a hero.
Yeah.
It's apparently after the events of last night, I'm keeping my head on a swivel. I mean, this is happening everywhere now,
Correct.
including here.
Yeah, it used to be a dog eat dog world. Now it's not.
It's
now,
not. Yeah,
according
it's,
to
the dogs are being eaten by other.
yeah, that is correct.
Sure.
I don't think that's anything new.
That's that was the matchup of the night last night, huh?
My
that
goodness.
that was the game of all games.
That is a wild game of bingo if you had that on your bingo card.
The best part is Doug Van starts watching it late because he goes over to Ice House Park. So I'm already like an hour in, and he's texting me his personal highlights from the first hour.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
There's some highlights.
I'm like, there's more weird to come.
Yeah.
There's absolute more weird to come. All right, Doug, talk to us a little bit about the podcast. Talk about some of the guests you've had. It's Leaders of Enchantment. Everywhere that you can get a podcast, you can get it. I'm a Spotify guy. I just gave you 5 stars today. No big deal. You don't have to thank me. I do it for everyone. But you have gone out into the community and got some of the best gets, and you're telling some good stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, the motivation for this is, so I've been back in Albuquerque year and a half, grew up here. So
Welcome back.
Welcome
from here.
back.
Thank you. Is one of the things I've observed in the year and a half that I've been back is getting back and interfacing with New Mexicans has been awesome.
Yeah.
Just the authenticism is, I had kind of forgotten just how authentic, New Mexicans really are. And I'd like to think I'm the same as a product of this community. But, we tend to get delivered a lot of bad news here, news and, we're 50th on that list or in that list and so on and so forth. And it's not to say that, we shouldn't be measured and critiqued and areas of improvement identified, but there's a lot of good things happening here. And a lot of those good things, in my opinion, tends to fly under the radar. And so, so me being back, one of the things I love, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
So when I built my businesses, I'm people first. I'll take good people, mediocre tech over great tech.
Oh, that's Van all
mediocre.
day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
okay, people.
Yeah. By the way, thanks for turning on my computer. That was very nice of you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no
Thank
problem,
you.
no
That was awesome.
And so what I wanted to, and I also I just like to get to know people.
Yeah.
When I used to run my companies, I'd always make my HR nervous because, new employee comes in and I give them the 3rd degree. Where are you from? What'd your parents do? How old are you? Oh, wait, I can't ask you that. But just, what do you do for fun outside of, what do you do for fun outside of work? And I just find I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, when we sit down, I can't have a deeper conversation until I know where you're from, till I know where'd you go to school, what's your profession, that sort of thing. And so that combined with, the circles that I run in here is where the ideas around Leaders of Enchantment was born. So it's an origin style podcast. So literally, where are you from? If you're not from New Mexico, what brought you here?
Right.
And what are you doing here in the community? And it's really, from my perspective, it's highlighting these wonderful stories of individuals just having a profound impact on our community, and honestly, to serve as a good example.
Some of the names that you've been so fortunate to sit down, and also you're in the infancy. This is the birth of it. This is the absolute birth.
Episode 4 dropped this
Yep.
morning.
Dr. Gerald May has been on your program. Bronco Mendenhall, good get, probably the best get here in the state. Adam Hammer, who I did not know, and as I was learning about him through your show, I might need to make a call because this is the guy who's getting some stuff done.
Yep.
And then Peter Trevisani, who's been on the program, I don't know, 1,000 times or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, no, you told some stories, and how tremendous I think it is for New Mexican, for a fan of product, to be able to absorb those like through your storytelling. Because whenever Van and I sit down with Peter Trevisani, it's what's up with the stadium? Give us an update on how are the tickets? One of the new kits coming out? But that wasn't the conversation.
No, that's not what we do.
Yeah,
that's not what we do. It's more about why New Mexico United.
Yeah,
where did that idea come from? You're a finance guy.
Mm-hmm.
How in the heck did you end up? And you're a finance guy from Boston, and you started a professional soccer team in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Why? And again, serve as an example to really think outside the box.
All of these episodes are available everywhere you consume podcasts. I recommend Spotify because the algorithm is generous. If you leave a review, do leave a review. Leaders of Enchantment, that is hosted by Doug Campbell. And as a native who has returned, do you feel like you have different perspective when talking to people who are making an impact here? Do you feel like there's a unique approach you bring to this interview setting?
Absolutely. I mean, here, when I left in 2002, I'd pretty much done, my academic career and worked in the service industry here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so that was the lens that I looked at this community. I spent 20 years up in the Denver, Boulder area, and I did a lot of really cool things, founding companies, exiting companies. I took another company public, and just the phenomenal people that I met along the way. And it was very much an international business. I had partnerships with Ford, BMW, SK over in South Korea. And so it's just an eye opener. And so bringing that experience now back here to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And now I have this kind of vision, like, guys, we could do so much more. And let's start with the storytelling.
Doug Campbell is with us. We're talking a little bit about his podcast. Now, that was a tremendous answer. It was the wrong one. It's the Albuquerque Dukes is what brought you back.
That's right. That's right. The Albuquerque Dukes.
Yeah.
And my unidentified favorite T-shirt. So stay tuned.
What was your biggest surprise coming back into Albuquerque after being away? What was that special treat, and why was it the Transformers on Lomas and 4th?
Good question.
Yeah, that was me. Let's keep that under wraps. People. It really is the people. They're just so approachable, humble. I might argue maybe humble to a fault, and just that authenticism. I love that. It's what I respect. You don't always see that, especially when you run in high level business circles. Not everyone's authentic. Not everyone's honest. Not everyone's a straight shooter. By and large, New Mexicans are straight shooters, and I'm a straight shooter. I'd like to think I am, and I just really appreciate that.
Not so bad.
What do you think has changed? I left about the same time, kind of early 90s, came back years later. What for you changed the most when you came back in Albuquerque?
Honestly, it's the lack of change is what really hit me in the face.
I think that's a Pearl Jam lyric.
I mean, listen, I went and visited the town that I raised my kids on the Front Range, Longmont, Colorado, just a couple of weeks ago. And even, it's a town of 100,000 people, and just driving Main Street, like, oh, wow, this place is changing fast. I cut diagonally through Denver because I was coming from my house in Gunnison. Cranes everywhere. Of course, the traffic was way worse than I remember. And I've only been gone a year and a half. So, there's pros and cons. And so in Albuquerque, if we could find that kind of happy middle point, a little bit of growth's good.
Yep. There's something interesting about the way you just communicated that. We talk regularly with the listener, right? We talk about the idea of culture, life, current events, sports, right? And as we incorporate that, I've been away from my childhood home for 20 years, something wild. So every time I return, I'll notice the shade trees I played under aren't necessarily there anymore. And I'll notice some of those things when I was a kid, but the ones that always get me, and maybe you guys have the same emotion, I'll go by like my childhood diamond, like my baseball diamond. I'll go by like the blacktop court that I learned, my Akeem Olajuwon impersonations, and it's grown over with weeds, or it's not the glory that I remembered it as a kid. Do you have that? Do you have the loss of childhood memory here? And then is there a vigor to bring that back? Is there an excitement about reintroducing that youthful joy that you once had?
Downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, downtown.
Let's go.
Downtown, look, it always had a little bit of grit to it, but it was buzzing. It was hopping. I met my wife working in a restaurant downtown. It doesn't seem like it's as vibrant as it once was. And to me, that makes me a little sad.
Yeah.
And it's not just Albuquerque, it's the state. This is the biggest, that's downtown Albuquerque's downtown New Mexico.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And I'd really love to see that place improve. I wasn't around, I wasn't involved, but I thought not putting a stadium downtown for New Mexico United was a real missed opportunity that could have been just a cornerstone of really transforming that community. But what's done is done. I think there might be opportunities in the future to try to start locating some key stuff downtown. That's what really needs to happen.
Yeah.
You got to put stuff down there and encourage the kids to come down.
UNM grad also, do you call it two successful companies? I don't know how you, okay.
I do.
So two really, so that's Rocco, is that right?
Rocor.
All right, so Rocor and then Solid Power.
Solid Power.
All right, and spent your time in the tech world, came back, UNM grad, we're talking higher education stuff as well. And now here and contributing to the university and meeting with the leaders of the community, including Peter Trevisani, including Bronco Mendenhall, including Adam Hammer. When you meet with these guys and you talk about this exact conversation, do you feel there is a collaboration of movement in a direction of positivity? Do you feel like these people who are faces of the community are making effort to improve the community they're faces of?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Pete Trevisani. I didn't realize he and I essentially have the same mission, except I'm doing my mission through my podcast, through getting involved in the venture community, getting involved in the tech ecosystem. He's achieving that pretty much the same mission through professional soccer. And that mission is just to encourage New Mexicans to strive for excellence, to, maximize their capacity. And which is also why I have, I'm a total sports nut. And I just see so many similarities between success in sports and success in business. It's just, fuzzy up your eyes. They're one and the same.
Oh, I don't hate that. Doug Campbell's with us, Leaders of Enchantment podcast.
Being in the tech world, we have Intel here, Netflix, Facebook, some of the sister companies that are involved in there. What would you like to see come here to enhance this community?
I don't want to see anything come here. I want to see things grown here.
Love that. Let's go.
We have billions of dollars of R&D being spent in this state at our federal labs, at our universities. What we don't have, or what we do have, is what I would call a subcritical entrepreneurial ecosystem here. To be honest, not enough folks like me who have been there, done that, and we need more of that. And the way to replicate that is it can't be reliant on importing. We've got to grow from our own, from within. We've got to train our own people, our UNM grads, our kids, K through 12, to instill a more entrepreneurial spirit.
Doug, don't you talk to me about the Boys and Girls Club? I love them so much. They're doing so good. Steve Palmisano has us here at the Duke store today. We're only on till 5:45 tonight, boys.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. Isotopes are playing at 6 because of something MILB, something day game, something. They have to start 30 minutes early. Otherwise, these professional baseball players will be cranky in the morning.
Oh, you gotta get your sleepers.
Yeah, go get the bed, guy. You gotta get up and go 2 for 3 tomorrow. So we're on to 5:45. Isotopes baseball immediately follows us. We continue from the Albuquerque Duke store. It's 2 Men On 95.9 FM and AM 610. The Sports Animal. If you come into the Duke store today before 6 o'clock, if you come in today, Van will pull 10% of your purchase out of his pocket and he will pay for it. You get 10% off, but it's not an actual 10% off because it's Van paying for it. So if you hate Van, come down here.
You hear this on air? That's the flapping of my giant wad that I'm going to throw at Steve Palmisano.
Yes. If you
coming straight out of my pocket.
How long have we been doing
into
this, Fred,
Steve's
over here?
A long time.
I think Van's finally paying up.
You keeping the tab? Yeah. It's like Norm at Cheers.
Yeah.
They're all ones. I was at Aladdin's Castle earlier.
I don't know what that is. Can you smarten me up?
That is.
It's a video game place.
Got it.
It's called somebody. It's something different everywhere you grew up.
Oh, the Tilt.
Mine was the Tilt. There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
Gold mine here.
The gold mine.
There you go. Now we know. Doug Campbell's with us. He's the podcast host, podcaster. He is Leaders of Enchantment. That's what we're trying to say. Doug Campbell, welcome back to the show, brother. All right, so we're talking a little bit about the world of sports, the world of business, the world of culture. It's really incredibly difficult to talk about sports and business without talking about the NFL. Let's talk about the tech side a little bit, right? You're a guy who knows quite a bit about the world of technology, and the NFL is, I think, at the very forefront of bringing their products to people through different mediums. How important, Doug, do you feel it is to diversify how you're delivering a product to people? Like, it's not just traditional broadcast television anymore. Did we say it's 10 different affiliates that the NFL is going over? Does that mean anything to you in the world of tech? Does that mean anything to you in the world of broadcast sport?
Well, I'm a tech guy. I'm not a media guy.
Sure.
And so honestly, what I'm doing with the podcast is my first. I shouldn't say my first. The company I took public, we had media people. I was on TV all the time. I was on with Jim Cramer, all that kind of stuff. So I certainly have been interviewed a lot, but it's, something that's this media centric. That's what it is. That's all it is. It's just media.
And tech wise, like Van and I are very good friends with the guy who created the app for streaming the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. Like, we know him very well. It's a design marvel. The thing is perfect every time. We just saw it with the Olympics. The Olympics were brought via digital, whatever. How many people go into this kind of thing, man? How many people go into creating something so vast in the world of technology?
Yeah, something like
for the Olympics. Like, they did it all from like a garage in Ohio or something. It was the craziest stuff.
I actually watched the Olympics on Peacock.
Yeah.
And I thought the way they handled it was fantastic because, first Olympics I watched was, the 84 Olympics where there's one channel and you flip it on and whatever they're doing.
Right.
And if you want to catch, boxing, you're getting up at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah. But also Mary Lou Retton's a national hero and she's the best of all time and deserved the eyes.
But this was the first time where I saw, you pull up Peacock and it's like, oh, let's go look at track. Let's go see what track did. Let's go see what swimming did.
They did an interesting thing with the Olympics too, where they made them free of charge. Like, you didn't have to have the Peacock subscription. You could still get them. That game played in Brazil only had 23 million people or whatever viewing. And the game played the day before on Amazon Prime, which everyone has, was like 36 million people. And by the way, those are Murder, She Wrote numbers in the 80s. So it's not like the biggest thing in the world. But there almost does seem to be a barrier with some of this stuff where you can't just watch the damn games. And that's wild to me.
You can get season tickets to the Carolina Panthers cheaper than you can stream every NFL game. For you to sit on your couch in your recliner and watch every football game possible costs more than season tickets to the Carolina Panthers. That's not a joke.
The thing that I find fascinating is NFL's push into Europe. And the reason being is, if you actually watch football and try to be as objective as you can, and by the way, I'm going to say American football, because when you go to Europe, that's how you have to refer to it. It is a pretty weird sport. Lots of rules. Why do they do this? Why do they do that? A lot of starting. Think about, if you were 20 or 30 and you were watching your first football game, it probably seemed pretty weird to you. And so, so this winter I was in Frankfurt. And I'm walking along, and then I look up and I see a New England Patriots banner.
Why not?
On the light pole. I'm like, huh? They were playing a football game where Frankfurt plays.
Yeah.
Like the next weekend. So what I've done is I've committed. My son and I, he's also a sports nut. I think this fall we're going to pick an NFL game in Europe and go see it. I just want to see what the crowd's like.
Mm.
I mean, how many are Europeans?
well,
How many are Americans?
I can help you with that. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Ole, ole, ole. That's so funny. Yeah, it's a different time. That what was it? 11 hours they had to travel to Brazil. Is that what the total travel was? And less people watched it than the Thursday night game. Less people watched it than. And also, I'll be this guy. I know people love the NFL. High school parent is not going to skip their kid's high school football game
Sure.
to watch the NFL.
Right.
Like NFL, stay off of Fridays. Like stay off of Saturdays. Like let these families live these lives of it. You already own one day of the week. Like you have Sunday. That's your one. That's the holy day,
Well, don't forget Saturday's college football.
which is also kind of holy unless you're a
For
liberal.
now.
Yeah, it's a little tougher.
For now, it is.
Did Bronco tell you he was going to save everything? Did he say that to you when he was on your show?
I don't believe that was a direct quote.
Okay. We look at that sometimes.
When you say save everything, you're talking about football specifically.
Yes.
Okay.
specific-
Football.
yeah,
In
good
football
point, yeah.
terms. Yes. Okay.
That's really good.
Gotcha.
We went to the home opener, Duke City Championship Wrestling, and we were there at the tailgate, and I'm like, great, when's the parade coming through? And they're like, oh, we're not doing the parade anymore. And I go, what? Like, where's the march? Like that's how I know it's time to go in. Like that's me being ready. Like keep my traditions. Football of all ages and ranges. Whenever we get back from the break, we can continue the hour and we wrap up the hour here at the Albuquerque News Store. Doug Campbell's with us. He is fitting in well. Thank you for doing that. Steve Palmisano, this United windbreaker Dukes mashup is the best thing you've ever done.
Yeah, it turned out great. Well, and it's always good to work with the United.
How did it come about?
Just them. We approached them last year for a Black Friday collaboration, and it went so well they want to do it again. There's probably going to be some more.
Oh, I need it.
But it's sweet.
Zay's in already.
Sick. Yeah.
I'm a winter clothing guy.
This is classic Dukes colors. It's the red on yellow on white. It's the whole thing. If you're a Chiefs fan, you could wear this.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Is that now? I wouldn't mind, but is that the only colorway of those type of
It
jackets?
is. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
course.
and that's perfectly fine, right? I'll just
Zay, we were thinking about navy and silver
Ooh.
and some white.
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna
but,
have people lining up for that one. Like a
yeah,
new
they
pair of
would.
Jordans.
Okay.
I know. No, I don't see a price tag on this, Steve. What's this thing going for?
That one is 110.
That's a steal. Are you being serious?
Yep.
We got one for everyone in the fam.
No, it's
Fred's
a nice, well-made jacket.
Okay, what's this?
Official league.
All right, dry clean only. What is this? Cold iron. Okay, now you know. Now you know, boys. All right, when we get back from the break, I might accidentally have this jacket on. It's 2 Men On 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Party don't stop. It's time to rock. It's time to rock. It's time to rock. Hey, yo, we take it to the top. It's time to rock. It's time to rock. It's time to rock. We go.
My friend, we are not blocking you. Check these out. Okay.
Windows may be blocking your audio device.
We hit the door again. Got a bottle of gin and a couple of friends. We about to set the vibe right. Hey, yo, we on it again. Country in the mug. Down in hell. Listen up, little homie. I got a story to tell.
You call him.
Championship. We about to win, celebrate all night, and then we do it again. Check it out. Check it
Hey, Zay, I like your shirt.
That's so funny. That's so funny. You got me, buddy?
Yep, I got you.
Welcome back to the
Mike Todd.
program. Welcome back to the program. Welcome back to the 2 Men On live at the Albuquerque Buick store. Doug Campbell's with us. We're talking the world of sports, pop culture, current events, news of the day. It's heartbreak, brothers, for Omaha Production and ESPN as the Manning cast plummets to an all-time low. 872,000 viewers for Monday Night Football. I think Lightning has left the bottle, y'all.
The Manning cast is the Daniel Jones of television shows. They got paid, and now they're just dialing it in.
Yeah, I like
they
that.
just completely quit on you. They quit on everybody. They hired Bill Belichick. There's not cool guests anymore. They just quit on you.
You're very wrong. This was a really cool idea. And then Monday Night Football messed around and got the best in the game. Joe Buck. You put Joe Buck on the broadcast, and no one else is going to compete with that. The St. Louis native has the voice of a golden swallow, and he is a tremendous in every aspect of football, baseball, golf, NASCAR, and dressage, I assume.
Yeah, if you bring on Bill Belichick and the numbers are low for his first game, that's not a good sign. I feel like Peyton's trying. It seems like Peyton still has like emotion and he's really trying, but Eli seems very, very laid back, like almost like he's too cool for school type of guy. So I feel like Eli may be a little bit complacent.
What do you mean, Pete?
Yeah, exactly.
I watched.
Hey,
Eli,
you're dumb. hey, Peyton, you got a big head. Like 3 years of this, like people are going to figure out the game plan.
I can't believe you had to go to Ole Miss. I went to Tennessee.
And now for a whole first half, you got Bill Belichick.
Well, they're in a 3-4. They're in a 3-4 defense there, and the cover 2 was choking down on the wide receiver.
That's boring. It's boring.
I thought about you guys a lot during it because there were some obvious moments. I'm starting to try to look behind the scenes and working on a show. I'm starting to realize some things. And it was too obvious that there was producers in their ear telling them to ask other questions because Bill went out of his way and was like, so Peyton, explain why the quarterback's not over on the sidelines talking with that receiver about the last drop. Like why it was right after Peyton threw a whole fit about I forgot Ayuk not being in training camp. He's like, so tell me why the quarterback's not talking to the wide receiver about why he dropped the ball. And it's like Bill Belichick's not asking that question. He knows the answer. I'm sure.
At least it's Bill Belichick. Do you remember there was a period where they were bringing on like Heidi Klum and Kevin Hart every episode? And you're like, what? No, I'm not. The reason I'm not watching is because of these celebrity interviews. Like I'm not interested in Vince Vaughn's opinion of the Chicago Bears. He hasn't been in a movie since 2014.
Oh, cool. Kevin Hart, you're doing another movie in the jungle with The Rock. This is compelling. Thank you so much for that.
Outside of Fast and Furious.
Cue commercial.
There's a small list of like celebrities where you won't watch their films. Kevin Hart is on the list.
There's a new urban heist movie on Hulu with Samuel L. Jackson and Terrence Howard and some other great actors. But it's Kevin Hart's in it. I'm like, crap, I'm not watching that now. You're going to ruin that for everybody.
We've always had that. Doug, what was the one when you were Nick Cage? Nick Cage was the one, like in the early 2000s, where it's like, I can't watch Gone in 60 Seconds. Like,
And he was so good in Raising Arizona.
yeah, like
man,
it peaked. He had the one. The Rock should have stopped after Scorpion.
Now hold on, Nick Cage has had a renaissance. The unbearable weight of massive talent. That was a fantastic movie. The Pig movie.
That's a real movie.
Yeah, it's He plays Nick Cage in the movie. It's genius. You have to watch. It's like very
like a John Malkovich thing.
Bam, you nailed it right there. It's very Being John Malkovich-esque. And he had like a movie for me that was like a 10 out of 10. And it's like this retired, disgraced chef who turned into a truffle farmer, and somebody stole his pig, and he's on like a cross-country manhunt to find his truffle pig. It should have won an Oscar.
Is truffle part of a pig?
No, pigs hunt truffles. Yeah.
What? They sniff them out.
Yeah. Truffle,
like a hound dog.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mushroom.
Yeah, they're worth as much as racehorses, Fred.
They're great.
Truffle pigs is like a
Truffle
huge
on
deal.
Pasta.
Yes.
Oh, it's the best.
My man.
Yeah,
I think I've had that at Matucci's. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
When I was over in Europe, there was a dog that was really old, and it would just kind of walk around the yard, and I would wonder why they always kept the gate fenced in. And they were like, because that dog sniffs out truffles. So if somebody sees it and they recognize that, they'll steal the dog. They're not going to do it. You know, we heard last night to the dog, but they will use it for truffles.
They used to go hunt those in northern New Mexico.
Really?
Yeah. Mushrooms. Yeah.
Now mushrooms, I think, you can't like cultivate mushrooms, right? They have to grow wild, or am I being stupid?
You are being
They
stupid.
can be cultivated.
Yeah, yeah.
What
You
about
can't
Face
grow
Off?
them in a cage. No,
I don't
Face
know.
Off by Nicolas Cage. You
they're
guys watch
cage free.
Face Off?
You got to be cage free.
No,
Nicolas Cage free.
No, Face Off sucks, Isaiah.
Oh, that was my first Cage movie. So you know how it is, and it's your first movie. It's like hits home a little bit always.
Now, hold on. Did Nick Cage suck in that movie, or did John Travolta as Nick Cage suck in that movie?
Great
Let's be
question.
clear.
Great follow-up.
Which one was it?
There's that Bill of Rights movie where he saved the Bill of Rights or whatever, right?
Yeah.
National
The-
Treasure.
There
Yeah.
you go.
National Lampoon
Yeah.
Treasure. One's
We're
no bad.
gonna steal the Constitution.
Who's we?
Nicolas Cage and a
Motley Crue.
Motley Crue.
We continue down the world of sports whenever we get back. We're at the Duke store until 6 tonight. Come hang out with your boys. If you come in and buy something, Van he'll take 10% off for you because Van's the man. I will not. I will not help financially. In any
Oh
way.
no. You don't help anyone do anything. This would be a first today.
Doug, if you buy the $110 United Dukes mashup jacket,
Get $11 off.
yep. Well,
Yeah.
Van has to cover it. So
Okay.
Steve takes
Look
zero
at the
loss.
brain on Doug.
I do have a couple of engineering degrees from the University of New
Yeah,
Mexico.
elementary math is not going to really make you sweat, is it?
Hey, low-key, though, Isaiah was impressed by that.
Yeah.
Like, that was, he just had his fingers out.
He's like, oh, you already got the answer.
Yeah, that's wild. Zay's so bad at math, he paid $1 for a better calculator on his iPhone. Like, that's how bad Zay is at math.
That didn't even know that was the thing.
There we go. It's 2 Men On, 95.9 FM and AM 610. The Sports Animal. Welcome back to the program. Welcome back to Two Men On. I've been doing daily sports talk radio since 2015, I guess. And I was doing weekends before that, and I was doing play-by-play before that. So I got 21 years in the game. And every time I've had a broadcast on September 11th, I have taken the time to play this. It is a poem performed by Jack Buck at Busch Stadium, the first St. Louis Cardinals game after 9/11, and it's our Isham Dental soundbite of the day.
Since this nation was founded under God more than 200 years ago, we have been the bastion of freedom, the light that keeps the free world aglow. We do not covet the possessions of others. We are blessed with the bounty we share. We have rushed to help other nations. Anything, anytime, anywhere. War is just not our nature. We won't start, but we will end the fight. If we are involved, we shall be resolved to protect what we know is right. We have been challenged by a cowardly foe who strikes and then hides from our view. With one voice we say, we have no choice today. There is only one thing to do. Everyone is saying the same thing and praying that we end these senseless moments we are living. As our fathers did before, we shall win this unwanted war, and our children will enjoy the future we'll be giving.
That, of course, was Jack Buck, who paid tribute to America in the Cardinals' return to baseball September 17, 2001. I was in St. Louis at the time, and that was my moment when the world started to return to normality, when Jack Buck, and there's a longer clip, it's like 8 minutes long. It's got fireworks and standing ovations and all these things, and the Brewers were in town. But Jack Buck holds a special place in my heart, and we're remembering 9/11 today. So there's our Isham Dental sound by the day, ishamdentalabq.com. You know all the deets on day. So excellent. There you go, boys. Yep. I was in high school, right? 9/11. So I was in high school. Van, you had just graduated.
Correct.
So I was in high school. So 9/11 happens. I think it was a Tuesday. This is my recollection. And the next,
it was a Thursday.
It was a Thursday. There you go.
Yeah, I had a big exam that day.
Nice. And that Friday, I believe the Army recruiter was in there. And then that following Monday, I believe everyone was in there. And the whole pulse was different. The whole pulse was there was a bigger idea in the world than me living in the shadow of the refinery down the street. You know, there was a whole world that could impact you for the first time. So yeah, just a different time altogether. Just an incredibly different time.
When I was that age and this happened, senior year of high school, had a lot of friends and family going to the service.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's they didn't qualify for or weren't ready to go to college, or they didn't have a career path and they thought serving their country would be a good solution for their upcoming adult life. Then I also had another group of friends who started joining the military after September 11th. Mm-hmm. And for that group, we'll be forever thankful, because the sheer audacity, knowing what lies ahead, and you still make that brave of a decision.
Wild. Well, and, you know, we say it on this program regularly, you know, I hate war, but like, I appreciate warriors. You know, I get it. I mean, and you go out there and you do everything you can to make that impact. And so many people did, you know, and then you had some sort, you know, the Pat Tillman story, obviously, and a lot of other, if not that exact example, similar ones.
Too many of those examples.
Yeah. Where people surrendered other opportunities in life to go and do what they thought was the calling at the time. And yeah, just an incredible remembrance of that are we doing today. So
feels like there's some young people these days that are going into the military more than I've noticed before. It's interesting to me. I just lately have come across my cousin's daughter's just is going to the Navy. She graduated. She got her postgraduate, and she's going to go in the Navy.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, and it all comes to us just being thankful that they are serving. But like I know some people where they may just be hitting a stone wall or they're stalemating in life and they don't know exactly how to get to the next level. And, you know, even if someone's looking at it as an opportunity to have an easier way of living after the fact, it's like anybody willing to go out there. And like my biggest fear is to get shot. So me personally, I would never
put it on the list.
That's high up there for everyone, I hope.
Probably, yeah. I don't know if it's a fear of mine, Zay, but
it's like an actual, like ongoing, like a terrifying fear of mine. You know,
like you run to the parking garage kind of thing. Is it like that?
Sure.
I don't. It's so bad that I don't know how I'd react, type of thing. I don't like the idea of anything fast coming towards me, and of course, that's obviously the climax of that situation. So just even being willing to go out there and take a bullet for the country. I always make sure to say thank you to people, and I notice that they're wearing the uniform or something like that.
Yeah, just incredible. Doug Campbell's with us. He hosts Leaders of Enchantment podcast. He's got a lot of fun guests on that program. 4 episodes in, and you're gonna do it forever. Like, what's your plan, Doug?
I'm gonna do it till it stops being fun.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm having a lot of fun.
That's that professional recreational in you. That's that.
That is the professional recreationist in me.
That's what I need.
I take my recreating extremely serious.
So smart.
I mean, basically professionally.
Yes.
Doug, you were telling me earlier you were a professional cyclist.
I was.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So this was late 90s, early 2000s.
I like the peak of professional cycling.
Mountain biking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was racing on the national circuit here in the U.S. At the time, it was called the Norba National Series. So I traveled all over the U.S. Turned pro in '97, and then the last national level race I did, at least while I was still swinging for the fences, was at the end of the '99 season, and that was really cool because for those of you who know cycling, '99 was the first year Lance won the tour, first of 7.
That's Lance Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong.
Oh,
sorry.
You always go Berkman, but this was Lance.
Exactly where my mind went.
Lance Armstrong, and most folks don't know this, but when he got cancer, he was dropped from his European team. It was a French team at the time. Took a year off. This would have been 1998. He didn't know what cycling was going to look like for him, so he entered into a contract with the Trek Volkswagen professional mountain bike racing team. So the national finals in '99 were in Mount Snow, Vermont. So the tour would have been in July. He had just won his first tour. He was contractually obligated to show up at the national finals in Mount Snow, Vermont. And you can imagine that really ramped up the crowd size.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even venture to say how many people we were racing against, but it was a circus.
And he watched you win.
No, he did not watch me win. I think he got like top 5 or something, but it's funny. So in mountain biking, when you get to that level, you get called to the starting line according to your ranking. So if you're the top ranked guy, you get called first. And it's because field sizes are large, you funnel into a single track. So having a good start is extremely important. And, a guy like Lance, he's got no points. And so they tend to give VIPs, they'll kind of start them in like the 3rd or 4th row, which was my ranking at the time. So Lance is like right next to me, cameras going off, click, 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 click. And there's a well-known pro guy named Steve Tilford, who's no longer with us. He looks around and he goes, "Boys, zip up your jerseys. We're going to be on TV tonight."
That's how we should start the show now.
Yeah.
Zip up your jerseys. Here we go. That's an interesting one. The world of biking to me is kind of interesting. It's such an individual effort, but on a team, and you have obviously combined time. You have all these.
Well, that's
things.
road, not so much mountain biking. Mountain biking, they do have team, but there's not much in the way of team tactics.
Okay.
Road is different. And I'm sorry, I'm an engineer.
No,
road, the whole sport is based on physics. It's the fact that if I'm riding behind you, depending on what the wind's doing, I could be doing anywhere from 20 to 50% less work than you are if I sit on your wheel. That's why when you watch a bike race, they're all bunched up.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to break away. It's just simple physics. Mountain biking, a little less so.
Yeah.
Well, and in the world of biking, the tech since 1999 has changed.
Oh, yeah.
Substantial. You could pick up a bike with one finger now.
Oh, I love it. I walk into a bike shop. I'm a kid in a candy store. I'll take one in each color.
I was down at Trek off Manal not long ago, right? My buddy Alex, he does some stuff over there. So I go in there and I'm like, hey, what's like, let me get started. What's the entry level? He's like, hey, a couple $100, you can do this or whatever. He's like, or
couple $100.
Well, this was the and then he says, now come with me. And then before you know it, you're looking at $12,000, $13,000, $15,000 like things that are the weight of a feather. And he said,
and everything's electronic.
Yeah.
I love it.
And Doug, it's interesting you made that point because, they'll say for any race, like in order to get first, you have to be either A, trying the hardest or be the fastest. But based off that explanation, it's basically like the person in first place actually is having to pedal the hardest and pedal the fastest because they have to break.
That is correct.
Get most resistance. So so that even gives the first place guy more of a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was in the back of the pack right until the end.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly. I mean, go. Next time the tour's on, so next summer, watch a sprint stage, and you'll watch them, and they'll have dedicated sprinters, and they'll lead guys out, and a lead out is me going as hard as I can, maybe with 1K to go, because I can't do that for a full K,
Sure.
And I'm working for you, and you're sitting on my wheel. And I'm going as hard as I can to keep other people from coming up and pressing. And then I deliver you at 200 meters to go. Boom, I pull off. You launch your sprint.
Well, Doug, you said about your podcast that you're going to do it until you don't have any more fun. I can tell that you're still having fun mountain biking because on your elbow, I see a scar. On your knee, I see a scar. On your other knuckle, I see a scar. You're still doing this, aren't you?
I'm a little banged up.
What is the point of entry for that for you? Because it's not like that is offered at high schools galore. That's not a university destination for athletics. Like what is the access to the world of competitive biking?
Well, you have to be introduced to it. So in my case, 18th birthday, just graduated from high school, CBLA class of 91. I was given a mountain bike for my birthday. So I got to biking very, very old, relatively speaking. And I was here in Albuquerque, so my mountain bike was my tool of recreation. It was also my transportation. I didn't have a car. And so I actually got fit because I just rode everywhere, all over town. And, I suddenly discovered I have a pretty significant competitive spirit. I like to compete.
Yeah.
And when you're good at it, it makes it a lot more fun.
Have you ever been to Leadville?
I have been to Leadville.
Leadville 100.
I haven't raced Leadville 100. I don't like the endurance stuff.
Oh man,
just the idea of racing for like 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't want to do that.
100 miles
close
mountain.
Close friend of mine. It's huge now. It's
Yeah.
gotten really huge. Close friend of mine up in Gunnison, Colorado, a guy named Dave Weens, former national champ in mountain biking, won that race 6 times.
Yeah.
Actually beat Lance Armstrong when he was coming back.
Really?
So Lance showed up at Leadville 100 thinking he was going to mop the floor, and my buddy Dave Weens kicked his butt.
So I happened to be there one year, and Lance was still a legend there because there's these straight up hills that you have to go.
Yeah, the power.
Everyone's like off their bike walking it because you can't just.
Yeah, I've seen these
and
highlights.
The story is that Lance never got off his bike.
Yeah.
I mean, he just killed it.
Well, neither did Weens, and
Apparently
killed
there
Lance.
was some others. Yeah.
Yeah, all he had to do was just lean a little bit because he didn't have the other.
Cycling.
That's where he got the steroids from. His,
Cycling athlete's a different athlete. I used to run a triathlon every year, operate, not participate. And you would see these guys get off the swim, go to the bike, and they're jazzing them. Like they're running to the bike, they get on the bike, they get off the bike, and they just are running still. And you go, how did the bike not take it out of you? Like, help me understand how you are built so different that you can go and run 6 miles all of a sudden. And it's it's a different sort of athlete. Did you hit that point too where you got tired when you said, I think I'm gonna try to swim and run too? Was that never?
Never. Yeah. I maybe I'll run when I travel, and every time I do, I'm like, I don't like this. It's every time I hike, I'm always thinking to myself, this would be a lot more fun on a mountain bike.
Every runner I know that's tried it, or every swimmer I know that's tried the triathlon, or every cyclist I know that's tried the triathlon, I think they just do it one time so they can get the tattoo. They get the run, bike, swim tattoo.
The Iron Man.
Yeah, that's their deal.
Having spent 20 years up in Boulder County, I saw plenty of my fair share of Iron Man tattoos.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you're back here where everyone has a Zia tattoo?
I love it. I love it.
Actually, it's a Duke tattoo.
It's
A Duke, yeah.
a Duke's New Mexico United tattoo.
Gunnison's different. It's I would go up there when I was working with New Mexico Highlands University. Western Colorado's out there.
Yep.
The whole thing. Maybe leads the nation in per capita in Subarus.
No, that's Boulder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's Boulder. The dealership, I think it's called Flatiron Subaru.
Yeah.
In Boulder, Colorado.
Does not struggle.
Number one in the nation. And
That's
they
crazy.
and trust me, they're everywhere.
Yeah, it sounds
Everywhere.
factual.
It's Subarus and yoga pants.
Yeah.
That's what they lead the per capita entirety.
Yeah. Imagine a Whole Foods parking lot, but it's a whole town.
There might be one other item in that where they lead the country.
Oh,
I don't know what it might be.
Truffles.
Something like that.
Mhm.
2 men on 95.9 FM and AM 610. The Sports Animal. We're just under 10 short minutes away from Josh Sean joining us on the program. Preview the Isotopes game tonight. Early start tonight for the Isotopes, 6 o'clock. So if you're headed down to the stadium, go now.
Get out of there.
Yeah, leave early. Get down there.
Grab a teller for me.
Doug Campbell is with us. He has been really great. Thanks for coming down, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was awesome. He hosts Leaders of Enchantment, super good podcast that I recently fell in love with. I subscribe on Spotify, but where is it at?
Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
Okay, there you go. Anywhere you catch a podcast, I promise.
Anywhere you consume your podcast.
Yeah, it will catch up to you. We've been at the Duke store all day. It's been a banger of the day. We talked about the new collab between the United and the Dukes. Steve Palmisano, who owns the Dukes, brushed it off like it was no big deal. But I'm telling you, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Social media took it by storm. It was every other post I saw.
Yeah.
Would you say it's for like a younger hip crowd or for like my crowd?
Both.
Yeah, it's 100% both. I could see like my niece wearing this, or I could see Andy Reid wearing this, like, and everyone in between.
I'm afraid to get the extra L because Isaiah will take it from me.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. I don't want him to roll me for my United and Dukes crossover.
That would also look sweet, like a size down, like with the sleeves up, like
yeah,
80s style. Yeah.
A large. The only L I know how to take.
Oh God! Wow! Oh, that's awful.
All right, timestamp this. I'm erasing this from the podcast.
Yeah.
This is coming out.
Spoken like a true Dallas Cowboy.
Doug, you could throw on it. Doug, you got a little bit of like a cool early '90s vibe. You got like a John Stamos vibe. Like if you threw this thing on, like this could be the look.
I would totally rock that.
Yeah. We've had a lot of fun with it. We talk about you're self-proclaimed sports junkie. We are adjacent to the world of sports, but we've been talking a lot about the world of tech and sports because you come from a tech background. The numbers now, analytics now on players are crazier than they've ever been. They're measuring things I didn't even know existed, and I have a stat for you guys. There have been 1,730 games played by individual wide receivers with at least 25 offensive snaps since 2023. If you look at the top speeds of all those players, Marvin Harrison Jr. ranks with his 16.7 miles per hour effort, the 1,699th fastest out of 1,700. That is correct. He is the second slowest guy to ever play wide receiver in the NFL.
Wow.
What?
They didn't throw him a ball that he had to run after.
He didn't try to get open.
He was just jogging around.
I think the numbers are ruining it for me. There's too many stats now.
Yeah, because he ran a 4.46, so this is definitely an effort thing. I wonder if he was in a bad mood. Because naturally, if you're a receiver and you're upset, and you're like, say, a coach made you angry, or I noticed yesterday we said that he should have been running different routes. Like maybe he agreed. He's like getting the Stephon Diggs already.
Fat Keenan Allen was 2 miles per hour faster than him.
In his first game, he's bummed.
Just pretty bad, boys. Pretty bad. I need like an innovation that makes me more excited. I feel like every number I look at makes me like hate individuals. Like, can't trust him because he's playing on a Thursday after 3 days rest when they're on the road going 2 time zones. And you go, oh man, there's so much information here.
I love it in baseball, but I really don't care for it in football. Like in baseball, it's like,
he had a trajectory of 32 degrees, and his miles per hour exit velocity was 98. So that would have been a homer in Kauffman Stadium, but in Yankee Stadium, it's almost out of the park.
Like Marvin Harrison, like just get open, dude. Just get open. Yeah.
You know, if you really calibrate balls hit really hard directly at a guy and you take those away, he'd be batting 400 this season. So it's not, you're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been a homer in broadcast. Like I know what that's like.
I mean, every time he faces the batters for the third time, their average increases 123 points over his normal career average.
You know, on the incline on my mountain bike, I can only hit 21 miles per hour. But when I'm going downhill and I use the inside part of my foot to brake, I can get like, does that stuff exist, Doug? Was that in your world?
No, what you just said doesn't even make sense.
That's 99%. We have a stat on
show.
that.
Yeah, for sure. You get the show, Doug. This is awesome.
How often is the release of the podcast, Doug? And who are you, without any spoilers, who are you targeting to have on the Leaders of Enchantment.
Yeah, actually, I don't mind putting some spoilers out there, but we'll drop every 2 weeks, every
Okay.
Wednesday.
Yep.
And so we will have some educators coming up. Jesse Berry, who is head of school at Bosque School.
Oh, how cool.
A gal named Amanda Aragon, who runs an education advocacy group, New Mexico Kids Can. Going back to the sports theme, Bank Richard Pitino.
Oh, good get.
So that'll be a good conversation. By the way, interviews with Richard and Bronco, wildly different. So very, very, very different different people. Love them both, but just totally different style. Meredith Dixon, legislator.
Okay.
Here. Bank to podcast there. And then it's funny, I've got people coming at me, hey, I want to get on the podcast. And then as a result, I end up learning about their organizations. We'll do a lot more nonprofits.
Excellent.
And then
just say Boys and Girls Club and I'll say yes. That's all you have to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The second you say it, I'll say, oh yeah, no, that's a good fit. Yeah, we'll make that work.
Got it.
Thank you.
So all these are in the can already? Or?
These are all banked.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, these are all banked. And so I'm kind of slowing it down a little bit and recording some new interviews, but I think I'll do another round.
How long
in October?
Are they? Do they vary, or do you
They
try
vary.
to keep it?
They vary. Gerald May, who by the way is just an absolute legend here, devoted his entire career to education and administration at University of New Mexico, president from 85 to 90. His was 45 minutes. Broncos, hour and a half. So it's very conversational, and it just depends on how much fun we're having.
It was Pitino.
20
minutes.
I think it's been about it. Pitino was fun because he just came out of the gate, and it was an origin story style podcast, and he did it. He covered everything, and he started going into University of New Mexico, and I look at my watch, and I'm like, oh dang, we're like 8 minutes in. So it's a lot of me. Well, let's go back. Let's revisit.
He had it set up like a practice. It was minute by minute. He was like, we're going to run tappers. We're going to shoot free throws. We're going to install an out of bounds play. And you're like, by the end, you're like, this is great. Thanks for being that thing, coach. No, this was awesome, Doug. Thank you for coming out. Obviously, there's a lot of really good content being created here in this city. There's a lot of really good podcasters. There's a lot of
really good people.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of really good people.
And it's wild to try to communicate that to people who refuse to hear it. We sat down the other day, you, I, Steve, Ray Birmingham with Kevin Banks came out, and we're just at Garcia's having lunch and talking about like possibilities of the city. And you kind of look around the table and you go, this is a good group of people. Like this is a group.
That was a great group of people.
Yeah. And how fortunate we all are to have kept Van away.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very smart.
Good change of venue right at the end in case he was onto us.
That's a classic us move.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Van. We will meet you at the grill. No problem.
I was sitting at Duran Central Pharmacy all by myself. I thought all 6 of you guys were late. So rude.
So funny. Josh Dushan's going to join us when we get back from the break. Doug, Steve, feel free to sit around, but you know how Josh is. Excited to talk about the Isotopes. We're going to season's come to an end.
On the countdown, isn't it?
All the best storylines.
Yeah.
It's really the countdown to fireworks on Saturday night. That's really like that. They do very well. Best fireworks in town. Fan appreciation all weekend. We're going to tell you more about it when we get back. It's 2 Men on 95.9 FM and AM 610. The Sports Animal. Doug Campbell and Steve Palmisano have left us because they're talking outside. Probably going over to Geckos. Probably starting happy hour early, just like we're going to in 10 minutes after we wrap up with Josh Sushan of the Albuquerque Ice Tips. Josh, welcome.
Thank you for having me. What's going on, guys?
Oh, we're just, just excited to be here, hanging out at the Duke store, talking to you, the world of baseball. Van and I thought we should open with the obvious question. Where were you, Josh, on September 11, 2001?
I was in Houston, Texas. I was covering the Giants for the Oakland Tribune at the time. And 2 days before, Sunday the 9th, Barry Bonds hit 3 home runs to give him 63. And Monday, September 10th, I flew from Denver to Houston. And I remember that's when I made the decision that if Barry Bonds broke the record, then I was going to write a book about his single season home run record breaking of Mark McGwire, if he did it. The next day is when the country changed forever. I was staying at a hotel that was right next to a hospital. And what I remember is that I was constantly hearing ambulances come to the hospital. And you could not watch anything else on TV. Like, even if you switched over to Comedy Central, they were only playing the footage of what had happened. And so I was just constantly hearing sirens. Now, the people going to the hospital, they were just sick. It had nothing to do with 9/11. But I just constantly heard sirens for 3 days. I got on one of the first flights back to the Bay Area. I'm pretty sure it was a Friday when we flew back. We're getting ready to land, and I'd say we're less than 30 seconds away from landing. And then all of a sudden, the plane violently quickly moves up and takes off to go back into the air. And all of us just went, oh my gosh, what is happening? And it took the pilot a while before he was able to get back on the intercom and tell us, we don't know what happened, but we've been told to circle around and we're in a holding pattern. So we circled around the bay, literally circled around the bay like 5 or 6 times. The pilot said, okay, we have enough gas for one more circle around. If we don't get cleared to land, then we're going to have to land at another airport, like in San Jose or maybe even in Sacramento, and then we'll bus everyone to your destination. It turns out there was some guy that was in a boat. For people that know, San Francisco Airport is right on the
there.
bay.
Yeah.
There was somebody on a boat who was like, he was trying to alert that, hey, I could shoot down a plane from here, but in the process, he made every plane circle around for 3 hours until they got rid of the threat. Then we were finally able to land. It was, it feels like it was yesterday in a lot of ways.
What is the September 11th tribute night going to look like at the lab tonight?
Yeah, so we'll do taps. We'll do moment of silence. We'll have some from the Albuquerque area to pay respect to what happened in New York and in Pennsylvania. And, I think it becomes just a much more somber night of reflection. We'll have some things on the concourse and outside the ballpark as well. But, the primary thing is before first pitch, it's not just a moment of silence. It's taps, and it really gets to you.
Do you remember baseball coming back after September 11th? Do you remember the return?
Oh yeah. Like I remember the national anthem. The first game back, we were in San Francisco. Tears were running down the face of Barry Bonds. I remember he was holding a candle. All the players were trying to hold candles, but it was so windy in San Francisco that a lot of them were blowing out. I remember the chant of USA. I remember Andres Galarraga hit one of the longest home runs in Pac-Bell Park history, and it was just like there was something very cathartic about that home run. And then in New York, of course, Mike Piazza's home run.
Beat me to it.
I remember Sammy Sosa running out, holding the USA flag. I remember just like the ultimate in like pride, fear, anger, like all the emotions for days, weeks, months, and of course the Yankees then going deep into October and all of that, all the powerful images from that. It felt like because of the Yankees run in that postseason, really it felt like 9/11 really continued until, a day or two after the World Series ended, which I believe was early November.
Well, and if you recall, the greatest ceremonial first pitch of all time is W. So when George Bush goes out there in a flak jacket and extra Secret Service and and I cannot say this anymore, like clearly piped a strike down the middle.
Sure did.
And you just have, and it didn't matter where you were, in 2001 also, this is not going to make sense to Isaiah. This is not going to make sense to so many young listeners. Whenever we used to have elections, we didn't see maps that were red and blue.
Mm.
Like that is not a way historically that politics had been presented until really 2008. Like it's only been around not that long. And all of America was just one. And that was the last time I remember that, which is crazy.
The other thing about 2001 too, like when I go back and I look at the footage, you're like, oh yeah, we didn't have high def TV back then. And like we had cell phones, but I don't think that, put it this way, I didn't text message anybody in 2001.
Right.
So we just had flip phones to call people, and it was dial-up. AOL was the internet access. So you still got your news from turning on the TV and calling people and listening to the radio. Like the internet was still basically in its infancy. You just got on like maybe once every 2 or 3 days to check this thing called email, or maybe check like some scores. And like it's like even now I think about like how different it was flying back then. How you used to be able to go through security and meet people right at the gate when they got off the plane. You could hang out with them until the second before they got on the plane. You know, going through security was very quick. You could arrive at an airport like 20 minutes before your flight, and you wouldn't even stress out about it. You know,
Sunport. That's Sunport.
Still,
I mean, I do that.
Just a fact. That is a fact.
Yeah.
Sunport's very, very nice to show up late to.
Yeah, I have the pre-check, you know, so it helps a lot. I kind of always tie this conversation into it because it's so intimately connected. I think I don't have photographic or genic or whatever that thing is called where you remember things really well, but September 11th, 2001, and when I guess I don't know how else to say this, but when Osama bin Laden was killed, like those are the two moments in my life where like I feel like those whatever eclipses of time, 12 hours or whatever it was, that I feel like I almost have them all movement by movement, which is crazy. Ice Hope Stu played tonight. We didn't talk about it a ton, Josh, but it's gonna be a good one.
Chris Mahalik was pitching in the major leagues. I interviewed him for the pregame show about his memories and how the Texas Rangers got back home because they were in Oakland when it happened.
Okay, pretty good. I like that. Yeah, so we'll continue this narrative whenever we get back and see Ice Hope's Media Network. Josh, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Good job.
Have a call, Sush.
Good show. Yeah, super good show. So big thank you to Steve Palmisano and the Dukes. Big thank you to Doug Campbell. Isaiah back to the studio. Manny, who came out and helped us with our text. Man, final words.
Too much for the time allotted, my friend. Anything we didn't cover, make sure you check out tomorrow morning on the opening drive with Jeff and JJ.
Good job, everyone. Keep breathing.
See you tomorrow.